Hey everybody, Matt with Freestand here. Got a special guest on the show today, Ashley Larsen, who is a licensed dietitian. She's out in Fresno, California, which is like the middle of California from what you just told me. Anyway, Ashley, how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Yes, of course. Um, and so just to give a little bit, actually, I'll let you give background on yourself. Um, but Ashley, if we could just start off, if you could just explain a little bit first about why you wanted to become a dietitian in the first place. And then kind of from there, um, you know, you said previously that you started working like kind of in a clinical setting
hmm
and then eventually opened up your private practice. So if you could kind of just give us the whole backstory, and then we'll talk about what you're currently doing.
Yeah, sounds great. So I think I've just always been fascinated with nutrition and health. I grew up playing a lot of sports. I had a dad that really taught me, he loves to cook and he really taught me about nutrition. He was really into fitness and health. And so we kind of bonded over, cooking and just eating well. I remember my second grade career project I did on becoming a dietitian.
Oh,
So
no
I don't even
way.
know how I knew what a dietitian was back then, but I remember I had a nice little portfolio. It had all these pretty pictures of fruits and vegetables. So I've always just loved it. And then, once I got into college, I started exploring, taking classes, and I just knew that that was the right fit for me. It was something that I was really excited about and that I loved doing. And I've never been like a naturally thin person. I've always kind of struggled with my weight and trying to figure out what is that healthy balance. How do you live a healthy lifestyle and be consistent with it, with everything going on in the world and all the stresses that come with that. So I found a really good balance with that and that education behind, the nutrition and understanding like what it does in our bodies. And, it's really amazing all the different things that food does in our body and how it helps prevent so many issues for us.
Right.
And so fast forward, becoming a dietitian is not an easy road. There's a lot of education, a lot of competition in becoming a dietitian. We have to be accepted into an internship. So it's definitely an uphill battle. And so once I became a dietitian, it was really just relieving and I was so excited to get started. I've always loved the preventative side of nutrition, really helping people to be healthier, to live healthier lives. And so that's where I really started in my career, was teaching diabetes management programs, health education programs. And then I got into like the clinical side because that's where a lot of dietitians end up working is in hospitals. So where we're more like treating disease versus preventing. And so I've seen kind of the aftermath of what, you know, just poor lifestyle choices and disease can do to our bodies.
Right.
And I've worked in that setting for about 10 years. And it was also a very like high stress job. So that played a toll on my health.
So, so who were you working with? Like what types of patients? Were it just pretty much everybody? Was it like people who were struggling with diabetes and needed to learn how to like manage what they were eating? What was
Yes.
that?
Yeah, so in the clinical setting that I worked at, it was long-term care. So it's 24-hour nursing care. So lots, it's elderly patients. So it's a lifetime of, things that have been going on in their bodies, right? It's
Mm,
natural aging process also, but, then you have some disease on top of that. So whether
right.
it's diabetes, congestive heart failure, lots of kidney failures, different things like that. So you can really start to see the toll that
Yeah, I
takes.
was gonna say, I think that's like a really unique or like a really probably fat, like obviously in some scenarios it wasn't not cool, but fascinating, right? Because you get to
Yeah.
see people at the end of the road, right?
hmm
This was like an elderly community, you said?
Yes.
So you got to see people like at the end of the road and kind of like see what they've been eating their entire life and how it's
Yeah.
affected them, which is like
Yeah,
an
and their
interesting
habits and
perspective.
right, their habits and their mindset around nutrition. And I think that the diet industry has really played a toll in our health as well, as far as making it seem like you have to be so extreme to
Right.
make these diet changes, which was really hard for people to do. And so as a dietitian, I like to come in and educate them and be, hey, we can just make a couple of little changes and you can see a really big difference. And so in the long-term care setting, it's really about improving their everyday quality of life, helping them to get a balanced nutritional diet, keeping them nutritionally stable so that they're not, that their diabetes is not off the chart, that they're not losing weight because of all of their issues that they have going on. So dietitians play a really prominent role, in keeping our elderly healthy in those settings. But then I was also just experiencing that loss of like, I missed working with people and on the preventative side,
Right.
helping people before they get to these
But
states.
I feel like what you did there was probably great because you're like, I've seen what you're doing right now. Well, that's going to cause, you know
Me
what I
too.
mean? You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So I don't know.
Yeah,
It's just interesting.
absolutely. Yeah, you can see it full circle.
Right.
Definitely.
So anyway, so you wanted to, I cut you off there, but you wanted
Oh,
to get
that's
back
okay.
to working with people, like kind of on the preventative side, right?
Yeah, so I opened up a private practice. I kind of went through my own health journey, like I mentioned, working in a clinical setting. You're the only dietitian there. It's the most highest regulated healthcare system that you can work in. It's long-term care, so there's a lot of stress that goes along with that. And so now seeing like the toll that stress can take on your body, you're not taking care of yourself as well, having children, all of these things, like I kind of had to go back to my roots and be like, okay, how can I develop a healthier lifestyle for myself? And so that's what kind of also inspired me to just open up a private practice and help mostly women is who I help, but just busy professionals, busy moms, like how do we get a handle on our health and make this a part of our life to where it's fun and it's enjoyable. It doesn't feel like another added stress. It's something that can really elevate your life.
Right.
So that's when I decided to open that up.
And how long ago did you open that up?
So that was in 2018. So I'm going
Okay.
on 3 years of practice now.
Got it. So you were in a clinical setting at, was it like an old age home?
Yeah, so it is a long-term care. So I work with, and then there's assisted living. So it's 24-hour care.
They
Assisted
got
living
different
is.
sections.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah, my grandparents were in a similar place.
yeah,
Okay, so you were working there and you were doing that for almost what, like 6 years, 7 years?
yeah. So I still work part-time in those facilities as well. So I've been
Oof.
doing this for about 10 years now.
What has that been like at those facilities? Have you been meeting with everybody virtually? Are they
It's
like,
been
because
hard.
I'm sure it's been extremely hard because one, they, obviously it's really tough to go there because they're old and they're at risk, the most at risk,
Right.
but also probably getting them to get on a Zoom call is not that easy.
Yeah. So the staff at those facilities have been present. So I'm still working every day
Oh,
at
wow.
the facility. Nursing staff, of course, are still there. So all of our support staff have been there. So as far as outside visitors is where it's been shut down. So we most recently did open up to some family members, so they're able to start seeing their loved ones again, which has been great because it's just been a really hard time. Thankfully, the facility I work at has done an amazing job with our infection control, and we have had no issues, and our residents are very, very healthy, but emotionally I think it's been very hard,
So
on our residents.
no issues at all?
No, we've been doing amazing.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
so
really amazing.
yeah, it's been a blessing, but I think emotionally it's been really hard
Sure.
on our residents. And so it's really nice to start seeing here in California, we're doing a lot better. Our numbers are very low. And so we have been able to open it up to loved ones and visitors and starting to open up different processes
That's
in our
good.
facility. So that's nice to see.
Are
Yeah.
you vaxxed?
Yes.
Yeah, you probably got vaxxed early, I'm
Yeah.
assuming. Yeah.
Yeah. We got it early this year.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're working there, still working there, and then you started this private practice back in
Mm-hmm.
2018. And when you started operating the private practice, were you operating out of your house? Did you open up like a brick and mortar location, or were you doing it virtually? Kind of explain like maybe a little bit
Yeah.
about that.
So I started at an office space. I was working out of a marriage and family therapy office space. So I just used that office a
That's
couple days a
perfect.
week. Yeah, it worked out really great. And then I wanted to just kind of build my connections in like the fitness and wellness community. So I started working out of a personal training studio. So I had a little corner in the
Yeah.
studio that I would see my clients in. And then I started really noticing that a lot of my clients wanted more virtual follow-ups. So they wanted me to give them a phone call or do a FaceTime instead of having to physically come in, because with nutrition counseling and coaching, it's really about consistent follow-ups, about helping them make actual changes in their health, in their life, in their habits and their behaviors. And so with that, it comes like a once a week visit. Every 2 weeks we got to be meeting. And so sometimes that can be hard on people when they're busy, they're working, they've got kids and everything, and to actually be able to travel and come to an office. And so I decided to transition fully to doing just virtual video calls.
And this
In
and this was in
prior
2019.
COVID,
Prior
pre-COVID. So it
COVID.
was about like fall of 2019.
Do
So
you
everyone was
were
set
you
up
were
on
you
Zoom.
predicting that this is
I
going to
know.
happen?
I think I did. I think something in my conscious. It was great because I had actually been seeing a lot of dietitians kind of on this trend to be able to do virtual calls. And you can see people outside of your area. Again, just that consistent follow-up, being able to have my clients be just more compliant with their visits. It's just a lot easier on people to just jump on a Zoom call versus having to come travel and take time off of work and
Right.
all of that to come see you. So yeah, I mean, once everything kind of shut down, my clients were already set up on Zoom. They already knew what was going on. And then it was even nice for incoming clients because everyone is getting a little bit more comfortable with the technology and understanding that it there is value to it, and it's easy to just jump on and talk to someone.
Right.
So yeah, it's been working out really good.
That's awesome. And when you were working, just to go back to when you were working out of the gym, that was probably a great location for you, right?
Yeah, it
Because
was a
like
lot of fun.
everybody there is like probably like is already thinking about that,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I definitely was able to help some clients there, get a better handle on their nutrition.
And were you working for that personal training studio, or were you independent and just renting space from them and kind of like, coinciding with what they're doing?
Yeah, independent. So we were renting space, and then we did try to just collaborate on, clients and things. So it was
Gotcha.
independent.
And then when did you stop that? Was that right in December of 20 or November of 2019? Okay.
Yes. Hmm.
Gotcha. And so how's it been going so far during the pandemic, with
Yeah,
everything?
it's been going good. So definitely in the beginning, of course, it was slow, right? I think everyone was worried, and I mostly like a cash pay program, so I do take some insurance, but I think in the beginning there was a lot of fear around what's happening,
Right.
what is our income levels going to be like, but it's definitely picked up so much more over the last year. And I think a big piece of that is that we see our health really matters, right? I think with COVID, you can see, the most extreme cases have had people with a lot of comorbidities, right? Overweight, obesity, hypertension, diabetes. That has been a really big problem with COVID, and the severity of how people have been able to recover. So
Right.
I think people are understanding that we need to value our health, and working with a
Absolutely.
dietitian again is definitely a way to do that, and make those real changes that you've been needing to make, having that extra guidance and accountability, and knowing that it can be realistic and fit into your everyday lifestyle. It doesn't have to be so extreme like some of the diets promote.
Right. So I guess that's a good jumping off point in terms of like your perspective on dieting and kind of how to approach a healthy lifestyle and everything, or maybe just kind of how you work with your clients in general. Um, I guess that would be, interesting to hear.
Sure, yeah. So I think if you Google like diet books, right, you'll get
Yeah.
over 4 billion results. So there's no one perfect diet for everyone. That's why I always tell my clients, it's like we have to find something that is sustainable for you and your lifestyle. So that depends on what you like to eat, how you like to cook, what your budget is, what your schedule is like, and we have to form a plan. So there's so many diets out there that tell you exactly what to eat and how much, but they don't tell you, what to do when you're running late on this day, or your child is sick, or you have a death in the family, or there's so many other pillars to weight loss and to health than just what we eat and how much, right? It's how we eat, why we eat, our emotional side of eating. And it's also like our environment. We live in an environment where there's food on every corner. People are
Right.
bringing in food all the time, and it's just not really set up to have like a weight friendly environment, right? So you have to also build skills around that. And so I really teach a lot of mindful eating principles, again, looking at why we're eating, how we're eating,
Right.
helping them set up goals that they can reach and be successful with.
When you say mindful eating practices, what does that mean exactly?
Yeah, so it means like really identifying, okay, what are we eating? Is my plate balanced? Do I have some protein on here? Do I have some vegetables? Do I have some color? Like really looking at your plate, identifying it, and then also just identifying your hunger. So am I eating out of physical hunger, or is it more emotional, like am I bored, or
Right.
is
Right.
food just around,
Bored
or
eating is I do it all the
yes.
time.
Oh, especially during this pandemic, right?
Yeah.
I
It's
mean,
like,
food has been an entertainment source.
oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
So,
I don't know what to do right now. I've been in the house locked up for the last 12 hours. I went outside for 30 minutes. I've been walking around
yeah.
in circles. Only thing I can think about doing is grabbing a bag of chips. Like,
Right.
yeah.
Entertainment. Exactly. So, a lot of that, like understanding how to fuel your body, how to nourish your body. So, it's really more about choosing what's good for you than restricting a bunch of food, right?
Right.
Because that's really where you're going to be more consistent with just having a better control around food and really understanding food and what it's doing in your body.
Yeah. And being able to just like be in the present a little bit, probably,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to just like going throughout your day and just grabbing stuff. Being able to like
Exactly.
slow down and be like, hold on, like, do I really
Yes.
need that right now? Like being able to just take that 2 seconds, give
Yes. That
yourself like that.
pause.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Definitely.
so no specific diets, nothing like that. It's everybody that you meet with is obviously different. So it's
Everyone's different. So I just teach them a simple way to portion control, understanding like how much protein they should be eating at each meal, how much fiber, encouraging more vegetables on the plate, looking at what kind of carbohydrates we want to be looking at to eat, depending on, just their goals,
right.
really. So looking at more of like a portion control way of eating and a balanced way of eating. And how do we make this realistic in every aspect of life?
And you said it's mostly women that you work
Mm-hmm.
with?
Yeah, mostly women I work with. And I think that's just because women have, we're more likely to struggle with body image issues,
Right.
I think, and just repeated histories of diets and that yo yo weight issues. And so I really help to get women out of that cycle of, the food controls me and I'm either on this diet or I'm completely off,
Right.
and so we like to just get to a normal way of eating and a way of eating that, again, is more mindful, is more nourishing, and is more sustainable. So that's where not I do have a handful of men too that have goals and that have struggles, but I find that women really need that extra support to get out of that diet cycling
Right.
mentality.
Yeah. And I've, from most everybody else, I've spoken to two other dietitians and one nutritionist, and they've pretty much said the same thing. I mean, they
Really?
were also all women, but they have
Yeah.
pretty much all work with only women as well.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
And I think, and that's great. I mean, I think men have a much more black and white way of looking at things. I don't know.
Right.
I'm not a man, obviously I can't speak, but just from working with men, I think it's very much like, okay, tell me what to eat. I can eat that and I'll be good. But I think with women, it's very much more emotional. We have a lot of more emotional ties to things. And that's just kind of how we operate.
Right. Um, and in terms of the amount of people that you're working with, um, you've been building, I mean, you've been doing this since 2018, so you've probably, have a decent amount of people. How many people
Yeah.
are you currently working with, and kind of like, what's the dynamic there?
Yeah. So I usually average about 20 clients at a time.
It's a
And I
lot of
typically,
people.
yeah, it is. But I think it's enough to still give, a lot of good individualized attention.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I typically work with clients for at least 3 months. That's typically the span, sometimes a little bit longer, depending on how they're doing and their goals, as far as, where they're feeling like they can just go on their own now and they feel confident to do that. So yeah, so
And,
over a few years, it's been a couple hundred people probably.
yeah, that's awesome. And how do these people find you? Is it mostly like through word of mouth in the local Fresno area? Is it on Instagram? Kind of what's the dynamic there?
Yeah, a variety of places, but I would say mostly a Google search. I mean, I have a Google listing, and I really encourage my clients to leave a review to share their experience. And I think that's really helped, for people to see like, okay, they did well, and maybe I could do well, and,
Right.
just kind of understanding the experience better. So that's been like number one, really. It's just a search. A lot of referrals in the area. I'm very involved in the dietitian community. We have a professional group that I've been very involved with, so I've made a lot of connections there. So I get referrals from a handful of people there, and then I do have an Instagram. So occasionally people find me on there. I think it's just helpful to have that presence
Right.
online.
And so you said there's a dietitian community. Is that local in like the Fresno area?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an affiliate of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. And then we have the California branch of Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. And then we have our Central Valley branch. And so that's where Fresno, it's essentially Modesto to Bakersfield, it covers.
You said it's called the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics.
Yes.
That's cool. And what purpose, I guess, does that serve? Is it more like they're kind of like as new research comes out, people like you get updated kind of through that network?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So we help support local dietitians for their continuing education. So we
Gotcha.
provide educational meetings, and then it's part of it's networking too, just getting to know people, other dietitians in the area,
Right.
and to keep up with the newest research and best practices and things.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I think it's just cool because like when that, everybody that I interview, it's called freestand because you're like, like independent, right? Like
Uh-huh.
unsupported by another organization. And I feel like a lot of people, although it's awesome to work for yourself and like be able to be your own boss, it's also nice to be able to connect with like-minded people, you
Yeah,
know.
absolutely. You're
Yeah.
not alone.
Yeah, exactly. And how often do you guys meet? Is that like a common thing? Is it once a month?
Yeah, so we have typically at least 3 or 4 meetings throughout like our calendar year, which is about 8 to 9 months. So yeah, we try to meet at least like every other month for one of our educational meetings, and then we also have pre-COVID we would have socials. So we would go out to like a restaurant or
That's cool.
a local place that we could just hang out, and it's really just a networking event. So that's been a lot of fun. We've really missed that, so I'm hoping soon that we can get back to that,
Yeah.
next year, like maybe in the fall.
Aren't we all?
I know.
Um, and in terms of the price, like if somebody wanted to work with you one-on-one, how much does that cost?
Yeah, so it's $200 a month for coaching. And so, initially it's a 3 month commitment. And so that's a visit every 2 weeks and check ins weekly. And I also have an app that we use. You have full access to the app. So it gives you like your own nutritional needs, and then you can search recipes that fit that nutritional need. You can make a whole meal plan out of it.
Oh,
You
that's cool.
log your food on there, and we can communicate back and forth on there. So it's a really nice tool to have.
And what's that app called?
It's called Eat Love.
Eat Love. And do you pay for that?
Yeah, so it's
Okay.
something that I license to use, and then my clients have access to use that while they
Oh,
work with me.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Eat Love. I'm gonna look that up. That's cool. And do you put the recipes in there, or Eat Love already has everything kind of
They already
pre?
have. Yeah,
Oh,
they are the recipe experts. I'm good at following recipes. I'm not a chef though.
right,
So,
right. Of
so yeah,
course.
there's thousands of recipes you can just search and find. And then the nice thing is that they can break it down by your specific needs. So say you want to have 20 grams of protein at breakfast, you can search for recipes that fit that.
Right. And is this something common that dietitians use? Like, how'd you even find out about that?
Yeah, there's some different platforms that are available that we can use that are specifically set up for dietitians and nutritionists to help support our practice.
Gotcha. Very interesting. Yeah, those tools are cool.
Very cool.
Um, anyway, Ashley, I think we covered it all for the most part. If somebody wants to find you, what is your website and then also your Instagram?
Yeah, everything's the same. It's Ashley Larsen Nutrition. So ashleylarsennutrition.com, and the Instagram handle is Ashley Larsen Nutrition.
Okay, awesome. Anything else you want to get out there before we wrap it up?
Oh, I think that's it. Thanks for having me.
Yes, of course. Yeah, this should come out in like a couple days. So I'll let you know when it comes out. Otherwise, Ashley Larsen, everybody.
Thank you. Bye, Matt.
Peace.